Yeah, I saw violence. I saw, other students, other kids getting strapped, and they're by ruler or else by rubber, thick rubber strappings. And I seen I experienced that myself on my hand, and also I've seen the fear. I've experienced that same fear that I saw in other kids when they're strapped, and I see myself. I felt that fear already at a young age. That I'm supposed to do certain things that I was not able to understand. You know what is right and wrong because I wasn't getting that teaching from my parents. There were just basically, a lot of other students that were there, and that's the way I started off in my early years, and it's wasn't allowed to even talk, or maybe we have supervised visits with my sister, my older sister, and I didn't get to know her that well. It was only when she came to talk to me, tell me that I'm your sister. That's when repeatedly. That's when I understood that she's my sister, and and I had visits to my mother too, and I was told that this is your mother in the hospital when she was there for TV, and those again were regulated. There were supervised visits, so there was no closeness. There was no hugging or kissing. It's just basically you know be there in the presence of your relatives and then leave. And so that's the way I experienced that those early days in residential school. And there was a lot of times I had to be out in the cold in the wintertime, because we didn't have the proper clothing in my feet, in my hands, and just basically parka. And we're forced to stay out because got to stay out for a certain amount of time, regardless of the weather. And I've seen um, very violent behavior, you know, um, with siblings, with two brothers, very, 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 very aggravating, violent behaviors. And that has a lot of impact on me. And then I was told to I was taught to pray in a certain way. And we always prayed in the morning, and like during meals, and at night, and Sunday masses, and just clean shirt, clean clothing, and it's all got haircuts in a certain way. I remember the heat the heat of those clippers after going for so long. Those clippers gets really hot, and sometimes it touches my scalp, and sometimes I had to break away, because it's not comfortable getting a haircut. And if I wasn't properly sitting the right way, I would be disciplined, by having a tap on the head, or just being harshly told to sit still. And because there's a lot of other people that need to get haircuts too. I guess that's the way they looked at it. But it's those memories there, like for many years, a lot of other memories that I had suppressed. I had to bring them back. I had to talk about all those in order for me to be able to address the trauma part of me, during my younger school years, and I think that's what led me to that alcohol, just killing that pain.
How long were you there?
I was there in resident school right from the time I went there. I stayed there for 17 years, and what did I know about relatives? What did I know about cousins? What did I know about auntie, uncles? What did I know, about even my own brothers and my sisters? Even to this day, like we're still recovering. We're starting to talk now to my brothers. Before it was not like that. It was like we were not talking to each other, let alone, hugging. And that's something that I experienced. And I noticed, I noticed, how other people were, interacting with each other, and it was about the same thing. As I grew older, I started to recognize that. I started to see that. That was, what was happening to me. I see it in other people, and it was a tremendous loss, because even some of my friends, they left us, left this earth, through like drownings, or through violence, or suicides. They just took their lives, and it was added, present day loss, added on to the loss I was experiencing from my resident school years, through my language and through my way of life. But fortunately, I was able to regain my language, because we're in this kind of setting. When we were out caribou hunting in August with my parents, and all we did was speak the language, when we were describing events and describing the land and everything, the stories that I was listening to in my language. I was able to regain my language, because that's all we spoke was, and it was Chippewa in those caribou camps. And so I'm fortunate that I speak my language now, and it's because I didn't learn it in the classroom. I learned it on the land, and I think it's important. That's what's going on right now. So it's those residents, those years in my resident school years were very devastating, to me as a person. And it's going to take for me, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a lifetime to be able to recover from those years. But I really believe that I'm on that. I'm on those recovery years now. And so I don't want to, carry that on for the rest of my years, because it's not who I am. And I'm grateful for the ceremonies that, like fire ceremonies, purification lodges, all those circles, talking circles, and all those cultural events that take place from our elders. I'm grateful for, those things that we do as our people, as a culture, and I think that's what's going to be able to bring me in a way to get in touch with, what are my feelings, and how am I taking care of myself and my bodily functions, and what about my emotions. There's been a lot of emotional devastation that took place, and my spirit too. And from my understanding, it was intentional to me. Later on when I grew up, it was like, it was meant to be that, to take the person out of me, who I am, and to make me other than who I am, to be who I can't be. And that itself, is very, very destructive. Because I, for a long time, even, in speaking to different people, I share the same experience that, we're, we act and do things that, that is not us, because we just want to be able to please somebody else. We do things we say things to please other people, and that's who I am not, and so that's why I really believe that I want to be able to continue on into my personal journey, and that's the conviction. That's a conviction that I think is really needed, and that's going to take me a long ways.
Okay, I'm going to go back. So as a result of all this experience, you said you started to drink. You're involved in drinking. I don't know for how long, but I don't know if you want to talk about that. And one lead up to when you were on council in 1989, you passed the band council resolution for all chief and council to go to treatment. So if you want to talk about that.
Hang on a second. Okay. Okay.
So you started drinking.
Felix, I'm going to get you to move again a little bit. The sun is kind of coming in your forehead. Yeah, move back. Yeah, seems to be right. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, hang on a sec. I'll refocus.
Okay, go ahead with that question.
Okay.
If we could just wait for this motorboat, please. Thanks. For sound.
We need a studio where there's no sound.
I don't mind some, of course, because it's where we are. But if it's distracting to the level of the voice, okay, we can go. Thank you.
Hang on. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So I was saying, like,
Actually, no. I'm sorry. It's getting louder now. I'm sorry.
oh, it's coming.
You to
Okay,
do some
roll it.
cuts.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, again.
Okay, so I understand you started to drink after you left residential school and then it led up to you were on council, and there was a band council resolution that was passed for all chief and council to go to treatment because of the elders recommending that. So if you want to just talk a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
Yeah, after I came out of school, after I graduated from high school, that's the time I began to drink, and only drank because I understood it to be like partying, having a good time, and basically that, and of course that for some reason, and I know the reason now, that I kept drinking. I didn't get into like a social drinking. I got into a really hardcore drinking. Just take the tap, throw away the cap, and take the whole bottle. And we did it as a community too, within groups of people. And I drank for 17 years, and until I got really sick. I just basically didn't function too well, and that's when I began to think about stop drinking. But when I was drinking in my early years, the reason why I drank that long, I believe, was because nobody talked about, why I was drinking. Like I'm drinking because I'm killing my pain from my early residential school years. But nobody talked about that, Now I understand that there was actually, people older than me that were actually had families in the community that were in residential school. But when I came back to the community Nobody talked about it. So I just drank because, you know, that's what people did. And that's what people were partying like in other places, larger urban centers. You know, people were drinking, and that's what I thought it was. You know, it's being a thing to do as a young person. And it was only when I started to get really sick that I stopped. And one of the attributions to that was when back in the early 70s, there was this ecumenical conference in Morley, Alberta, and Chief John Snow at that time and other leaders.
I'm sorry, just going to stop you. The sun is just okay. Anytime. Go ahead.
That's you know, back in the early 70s, and I was living in Slutsky at the time, and you know, out of Yellowknife, the Tree of Peace were, you know, bringing busloads of people down south, and myself, I didn't really travel on that bus, but basically I hitchhiked to this ecumenical conference in Morley, Alberta. And that's the first time I ever seen an arbor, and you know, like out of logs structure, and then leaves on top, and then there was elders speaking. Elders were talking. That's the first time I ever experienced, other than, you know, other people that were in the forefront talking about, you know, issues, other than the elders back home. I see there's elders down south that were talking, and then there was pipe ceremonies going on, there was sweat lodge going on, there's other ceremonies going on that time, and they were working with medicines, they were working with land medicines, and they were talking about, you know, our relationship with the land, the air, animals, and that's the first time I started to, you know, to listen to that, to hear that. As a matter of fact, I was still consuming alcohol when I went there. But after the first night, you know, I was very attentive, you know, listening to what people were saying during that time, and there was a lot of those starting to make sense, because it was different. It wasn't like an organized reading from the passages from the books. It was people talking from themselves. So now I'm beginning to understand then that, you know, it was a strong relationship, you know, to Mother Earth, to Creator, you know, to the whole symbolic of the circle, and how we interact with each other. Starting to understand that then. That's when I begin to you know, to seriously you know, take those teachings, you know, and but not so much as to apply to myself then, because I was still, like, in the early years too, at the same time I was a counselor with those elderly chiefs, and I was still, you know, residue of residential school was still in me, and so I was still drinking during my leadership as a counselor, and those, you know, it kept on, but those ecumenical conference, you know, kept going every summer, and for so long, and after a while they stopped doing that, but it came to a point where I myself became a leader, a chief, and it was through the support of the elders and through the grooming of the elders for me to be that person. And it was during my 2 years in my chieftainship that I kept on drinking, and then on that third year I began to ask myself two questions. You know, I either had to quit my chieftainship, or I had to either quit my drinking. And so those are the two questions I asked myself. And of course I you know, I chose to that drinking because it made no sense if I kept drinking and then talk about the treaties, because those treaties were based on peace and friendship and the relationship to the land and to how the sun rises and sets and how the grass grows and how the river flows. So that's...
Please hold that thought. I just have to adjust your mic. It's getting very scratchy. I'm sorry.
Oh, leave that bell out too.
Yeah.
Ron Desjardins is just next door here. Can you go over and see if he's there and tell him
Good,
we're
thank
doing
you.
the interview with
Who's
Felix?
Thank you.
Ron Desjardins.
Okay, where
Who?
Desjardins?
What's the name again?
Ronnie?
Ron
Desjardins.
Desjardins.
Oh, I thought you said Yvonne.
Ron Desjardins.
Ronald, Ronnie.
He's just right across the first.
They'll set us. They'll set there. They'll set a tent there.
The first one you come to. It's not far. No.
That we're still interviewing, be a little while before we go on the boat to the graveyard.
And maybe he could tell Archie. Thank you.
To just loosen
Now
up
you're
this
wired.
cable.
Oh yeah.
There we go. Just gonna loosen up that cable. How wide are you, Anthony? You're not gonna see this cable down here, right?
Not at all.
No, it's camouflage.
Black fence. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. He's wired, so that
Mm-hmm.
how the elders kind of like
Yeah.
influence that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anytime.
And during my chieftainship, there was this person, this elder, very outspoken. Everybody, basically know that in our community. She's no longer with us, and that's the late Liza Enzo. She was a counselor, during those years, right from 1982 on, and she was very vocal about, what we're talking about now, the relationship with the land and what it is that we need to do to be able to be functional people, without the alcohol and the drugs. And that's when I think that's when I really seriously took the teachings of what I heard at the Morley Ecumenical Conference about ourselves as people, how we traveled, how we were impacted by the colonization, by other people coming into our area, and just basically introducing foreign concepts, foreign teachings, combined with the impact of residential school years. Not many people talk about it then, but it's those words that she talked about, and in our assemblies, and in our meetings, in our council meetings, that basically got us to where we are now. And it was not only her, but it's other elders, because when she spoke, it reverberated to other people, and so there's a lot of elders that starting to talk about starting to bring back the functions, because basically before then they were left out. They had no role. They were considered too old, but when we came, when she talked about the issues, that we needed to hear, that led us to the Band Council resolution that basically allowed us to be able to work as a chief and council to take the responsibility and to make the commitment to sober up, or to work without alcohol and drugs, because that's the only way that we can talk about the living treaty that we made, because that's what the treaties were based on again. It's just basically the understanding of how the sun rises and sets, and the grass grows and the river flows. And the BCR, the Band Council resolution, just basically lays out the foundation, compounding that. So I think it's a great addition for us to be able to continue on to address our sobriety, because basically before then too, one of our former chiefs, who is no longer with us too, just basically put in stipulation for people, like it's called prohibition within the territorial government's policy, and that was put in place, and that was like a policy or a law that was from an external policy that was applied within our community. And so that just basically means that we're prohibited from drinking, but that didn't really address why why is it that we need to stop drinking. That didn't really address that. We just basically disciplined us, basically that policy basically prevented us, because it was followed by punishment of some sort. By if we charge for drinking, then the RCMP would lay the charges, and then we appear in the in Canada's judicial system. So that that is still a continuation of the incarceration. That is still the continuation of a foreign policy. So that didn't work too well. I mean, people were still drinking despite that. But I think this Band Council resolution that is within the community, it's an internal law, it's an internal policy that we worked with the elders, with our chief and council, and with other members, where we had a lot of discussions. We had a lot of those people had input, and so that was related to being here, to where we come every summer since then, to our grandmother here sitting at the falls, and then that's the reason why we come here every year, to ask for help in that sense. And I think it's that's the way it's working now, the way I look at it. I think it's very effective, because it addresses all our needs, as who we are, and that is instead of told what to do, we're starting to take on the commitment ourselves, and I think it's really important. What are you doing, Tony?
That's good.
So that Band Council resolution in 1989, it's been 24 years, and you see that is the impacts and effects of that Band Council resolution today where you are.
Yes.
It's kind of like what influenced what's happening.
Yeah, the Band Council resolution does influence. It's a very, very, very powerful Band Council resolution. Since then, there was at least three leaders, 3 chiefs, and out of the 3, 2 undertook to go to treatment. So that's really good, and I'm just talking about, you know, the after the years 2000. That's, you know, when the you know, according to the Band Council resolution, you know, that the chief and council, you know, should go to treatment to you know, address their personal alcohol and drug issues, to be treated in that sense, so that you know, they can be more involved and, you know, more effective, to be able to you know, develop whatever they need to develop, economic development, or even jobs or businesses, you know, like, and also, you know, healthy families and housing, and, you know, oh, you name it. There's a lot that we can do, you know, within our sobriety, and you know what, it's here, you know, the time is here now. The time is here for healing, you know, and the time is for healing, and time to be able to address the losses. You name it, there's big lists of losses, and I think, you know, we can work together on that, and then that's the influence, I believe, of the Band Council resolution, because it came from us, it came from our elders, it came from within the community, and that's still in place as far as I know. Nobody's ever, you know, after my chieftainship, and nobody's ever, because that, you know, will nullify that. No, it's still there. I mean, and so there's a certain degree, you know, of following it, maybe, you know, maybe a little, and maybe a big degree, but still, it's still there. It hasn't been thrown out. So that's really good about that.
So have you seen a decrease in drugs use and alcohol abuse
We're gonna change stage.
since